Yeah, Michail Antonio is with us. Morning to you, Michail.
Morning, mate. How are you?
I'm not too bad, not too bad. Thanks for having me, guys.
Ah, it's a
Great to see
pleasure.
you.
Got your book. I've read it. Humans, Not Robots. Really interesting. It's not your sort of archetypal football biography, is it? It's not this happened to me, then this happened to me, then this happened to me, then this happened to me. But I want to start right at the end because you've been playing in Qatar. I mean, your timing, mate, sometimes.
Oh, mate, it's crazy. It's like, obviously, everything in the book I said, trialed for Brentford, tore my calf the day before signing the contract.
Yeah.
Trialed for Leicester, tore my hamstring day before the contract. Then I had an option between Charlton and Qatar. Decided to go to Qatar, and a war started. Like, living in an active war zone. But I'm not going to lie, I loved every moment over there. It was actually a nice vibe, nice culture, very slow, relaxed. It's something I kind of needed to introduce me back into the football life.
See, that's the one thing I would say to you, and we're having a laugh about it there, and if you look at it that way, it could be quite amusing, but at the same time, you've got to have enormous mental strength to come back from a lot of things, right? And clearly you have that.
Yeah, 100%. Something I've always had in my entire career where I always test myself, I always push myself. And I didn't want my career ending in a car crash. So I was just like, I need to get back and I need to play. And that was my focus.
Yeah. And we know how much you love West Ham, 323 appearances and 83 goals. You won a European trophy with them as well. But reading the book, you were bitterly disappointed with the way they treated you after the accident.
Yeah, 100%. Basically, I was playing there for 10 years straight. Every single year, I was a starter for the team. And many times they tried to replace me, get other new people in, and I always end up playing. I started on the game before my car crash, and I was starting on the Monday when obviously I had the crash on the Saturday. So I was surprised that for someone who's highly involved and someone who's been playing for 10 years at the club, that they didn't offer me something, even though I had interest before my car crash, and they said I wasn't ready for sale. So I was surprised to be released in the summer, and the fact that they waited until May to tell me that they were going to release me as well was a surprising factor as well.
How much of that? Sorry, how much of that was down to Graham Potter? Because look, let's be honest. A lot of this book, you got a lot of praise for a lot of people in it. From Stuart Pearce through to David Moyes or whatever. But how much of your departure in that manner from West Ham did you feel was down to Graham Potter?
I think it was a lot down to him. Obviously, he didn't really know me as a person, didn't really know me as a player, other than what he saw me playing. But I felt like the conversations that I was having with him was like, it's got nothing to do with me, it's got to do with the chairman, and the chairman would be like, it's the manager. I honestly just feel like he was the one who really made the decision in the end. But it wasn't just me, it was obviously me, Aaron Cresswell, Vlad, Lucas Fabianski, Edson. Like, he got rid of a lot of the senior group, the leaders in the changing rooms. And I feel like he was trying to change things up and go more young. But then it's a bit of a contradicting factor because he did that, and then within 3 weeks he was going, we've got the leaders in the changing room. When his decision to get rid of him, so it made no sense to me.
I think, Michail, I'm looking at this, mate, and one of the quotes you said in the podcast was, I had resentment against the club, I hated them, nothing to do with the fans, just the ownership. The only way they could feel my pain, was to be relegated. Now, do you think, the question I would ask you is, do you think it was a personal attack? Did it feel personal? Or, as you say in the book, humans, not robots, do you think it's an overriding thing where players in general, their feelings aren't taken into account?
I think it's players in general. It's something I've always said in my career. It's not like, as much as I had a lot of resentment, I had a lot of anger towards them. It's something I've always said. I said players always are treated like meat. As soon as you become stale, you get thrown away. And obviously I became stale, so I was the next person to be thrown away. So it's not just a personal thing. It was not just me. But there's been other clubs that things have happened. Let's say Jamal Lascelles at Newcastle.
Yeah.
Coming up to the end of his career, end of his contract, he done his ACL, they extended his contract. There was another players. There was like another 2-3 other players where these things have happened, and clubs have extended their contract. So especially for players who've been there for a long time. So that's why I thought to myself, they'll at least give me another year and see what happens in that year and see if I'm still performing. If I'm not, then we can go our separate ways. And then the next thing that frustrated me even more is that I was there for the whole pre-season and I was fit enough to be playing games for the under-21s that they didn't give me the opportunity to actually say bye from the pitch to the fans. These are the things that were really frustrating me, and these are the things that really annoyed me.
Yeah. I mean, look, who knows what's going on with West Ham players at the moment, having been relegated. But, for instance, if you were to give some advice to Jarrod Bowen, and I'm sure he doesn't need any advice, but if you were, would you be saying, you know, it's important for you to look after number one, look after yourself?
100%. Like, end of the day, you can have the commitment, you can have the love for the fans, and I think one thing people are starting to understand this day and age anyway now is that players do need to look after themselves, because we know that the club's not. You can always have the love for the fans, you can always have the love for the club, but at the end of the day, you have to look after number one. And once you, while doing that, you can also show support. Like, look at Declan Rice. He's gone to Arsenal now, but he still has his love for West Ham. He's seen at the post and he's upset that West Ham's gone down. So you can still have the love for the club, but you can still look after yourself.
See, it's interesting. I always like to ask you a question in terms of when you wrote the book, and, you know, how did you feel writing it, and how do you feel now? Do you feel, has it been therapeutic in any way? Is it, you know, opening up and letting the world know your feelings? Do you feel better for it?
Yeah, to be fair, it was like therapy. Obviously, sitting in the room, speaking to my co-writers and stuff about the book, and it just got me to release a lot. Obviously, I was also in therapy at the time, so I was doing it naturally. But being in the room and being able to speak and let everything go kind of helped me get past all my resentment and hatred towards the owners and Potter.
I mean, there's a chapter about therapy, and it's a really interesting chapter. I mean, a really interesting chapter. And you were saying, can you imagine if kids who are 10 and 11 or 16 or young men at 21, if they had free access to therapy, how much it would help them in their lives?
Yeah, 100%. It's something I'm trying to push. I'm speaking to like my PR people and everyone to try and get it out there, try and get into the governments basically, because every time you go through life, there's different type of changes, and people feel like it's just natural. You should be able to just be able to deal with it in life. But the whole part of life is learning yourself and experiencing what your struggles are. So I feel like every time there's a factor of change, so at ages of 10, ages of 14, 16, 21, 30, 40, 60, each time these occasions are happening, there's a part of life that you have to make a change. You're at the age of 10, you're thinking about your next steps into secondary school. 14, you're thinking about education, what exams you're going to take, what do you want to be when you're older. 16, you're finishing school. Are you going to go to college? Are you going to go to work? 21, you're now seen as an adult. So you're now looking for a job. What job are you going to go into? At 30, you're probably going to be in a job. You don't know too sure if you enjoy a job or not, whether you want to change or move on or stick it out. 40. At 40, you're still technically young. A lot of people have become millionaires, billionaires from the age of 40. So there's still time for you to make a change or stick it out. It's your decision. At the age of 60, you're thinking about retirement. What are the next steps? What your kids are doing. So these things, like being able to speak through what you've been through, to release everything that you've got with inside and learn who you are during the course of your life, not just in the moment when things are bad. I feel like those are situations where it's key to have them sessions. And I'm not saying that they have to go into therapy for a year. 3 to 5 sessions is an option that you're there to speak to someone who's not giving you an opinion back, not trying to give you answers, just listening for you to find the answers within yourself.
See, that's an interesting one. I play in a completely different generation, but a generation where, I'll probably use the word, you would be embarrassed to bring up some conversations in the dressing room. And I think this is fantastic now. I really do, the way things are changing. I definitely think you'll tell me there's still plenty of room for improvement in that department, and I get it. But can you see a change since you started playing to players talking to each other?
Players are really talking and changing about their struggles. But there's definitely a change when it comes within the club. More people are starting to say like the options are there. There's like there's always a psychiatrist or a therapist in the change rooms, or not in the change rooms, in the clubs. Mainly to do with the youth players, but you have access to them if you want to. But a lot of players don't really want to speak to anyone at the club. They kind of
Why is that?
Because at the end of the day, you don't want to speak to someone at the club and then that person reports back, and then once they've done that, you might lose your position. So you kind of want to find someone external. That's what I did.
Yeah.
And it took me 5 different therapists for me to find the right one.
Wow.
But I didn't really want to speak to anyone in the club. I went to the head physio and I said to him, so look, I'm struggling. He's the one who introduced me to therapy at the time. And then from there, the first person I spoke to didn't really like. It took me 5 for me where I was like, actually, yeah, I can gel with you. I believe that you can help me here.
Yeah. Look, yeah, you're going to stay with us for a few more minutes. There's a lot of love for you out there. Just to read you one or two out here. Joe says, Mick, you're still loved at West Ham. Would you come back, please, and help us get out of the Championship? Anonymous one says, please tell Michail he's welcome to come back home to play for Tooting again. Steve the Hammer says, just say thanks to the Ant for his loyal 10 years of service. He'll always be a Hammers legend in our eyes, and good luck for the future. And another one here. Morning, guys. The biggest compliment I can pay Michail Antonio is that every time he played against us, and he's a Liverpool fan, he said, I was very happy if he wasn't starting or if he was ever substitute. A top man, wishing you all the very best moving forward. Positive vibes and respect. So a lot of love out there. Oh, loads and loads of texts. Honestly, Matt King, just like to thank Michail for this interview. Really connect with what he's said. Nice to hear a football player with a great mental outlook. DC's a Forest fan. He said Mick Forest legend as well, and so on and so forth. Griff from Kings Lynn says, come back, Michail. Please, please, please. Look, I want to stress as well, by the way, this book is full of stuff about, you know, how much you enjoy being a footballer. What a privilege it was to be a footballer. When you played the game with a smile on your face, didn't you? There's no doubt. But the title's interesting. Humans, not robots. And there's a line in it where you say, you know, can you imagine if you walked into an office where people bellowed abuse at you and made obscene hand gestures towards you? And that's what you have to cope with pretty much every well, certainly every game anyway, you know. And mentally, that must, yeah, it's a privilege to be a footballer, of course it is, but mentally that must get to people.
Well, it's crazy because literally I have the conversation with people because obviously I got a few friends that do it themselves. So it's not just, I'm not saying, oh, thing. I have friends who do it, and I'm like, let's just imagine, you're sat at work and then I'm sat behind you just slating you. And you're like, well, oh, look at your typing. That is terrible typing. You need to be faster than that. Blah, blah. It's going to eventually annoy you. And it's not until I've had that conversation with him when they realised, yeah, that's true, to be fair. But he's like, but football's different. I'm like, but why is it different? Because we're still people on that pitch. What makes us different? They're like, because it's your job, but is that a part of my job? And they're like, yeah, but it's always been that way. But does that make that right? So literally, I say all that, and then by the end of it, they have nothing to say. Because at the end of the day, it's true. We are humans. We are not robots. We have feelings. So eventually, those feelings will come out. If you constantly do the exact same thing, it's going to irritate us, and eventually.
Well, you're 100% right. I mean, the fact that it's always been there doesn't make it right. In fact, the opposite, because it's wrong. However, sadly, I don't see it changing in the immediate future. But one of the things I think that's added to it, and you talk about the mental capacity of particularly youngsters coming into the game, right, is social media, right? What advice would you give? Because it's the easiest thing in the world to say. My boys, and by the way, me on my phone, I've turned into a disgrace as well. So everybody's doing it. And everybody's always had an opinion. But nowadays, you hear and see everybody's opinion. How do youngsters in particular, do you think, handle that?
To be honest, to be a footballer, you have to be very resilient. Like, obviously, from the fans at stadiums, and now social media. Social media is just access, free range for fans to have access to you. And there's a positive of it. So now fans can actually see the person, and it kind of humanizes people more because you're seeing their lifestyle, to seeing that they're actually people. But then the negative is that they can say what they like to you. So you can literally come home and like what I used to do is if I had a mare, obviously the time I'm a human being, so there was times I had bad games, I would point blank refuse to look at my timeline because I knew for a fact that the messages that we get on there,
It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
I mean, I've got to be honest, Chef. I mean, I'm actually staggered at some of the abuse online. The people would actually take the time to write. I mean, I'm of a generation, it doesn't bother me in the slightest. I actually laugh about it. Yeah. It's amazing. But for some people, you actually take the time to write down and say some of these things.
Some of it's so sort of malevolent. It's such deep hatred in the messages.
And the craziest thing about it, even when you have a good game and you have 1,000 nice comments, that one bad comment is what soaks into your mind. Yeah. It's like one bad comment that really soaks into you. You're like, no, but like, everyone else thinks I've done wrong. What's your problem? Like,
I've got a text here which just says, hey, Michail, how about player manager at Southend? The other West Ham legend, Bobby Moore, did it. Do you think about going into coaching?
Yeah, I am, to be fair. I did my UEFA B. I need to finish my presentation, to be fair. I missed my presentation, so I need to do that. And then I'm going to do my A because I want to have all options there.
Where did you do it, mate?
I did it at the club, to be fair. They came down. So it was me, Angelo Bonner and Thomas Souček all did it together. But I want to have all options there. I think TV is more suitable to me because obviously how long I've been in football for. I think football takes so much of your time. Because I've been in it for so long, I want more freedom in my retirement. So that's why I probably stick with the TV side of things.
I'm worried about this because you say you don't want to be a pundit, you want to be a presenter, which has me feeling a bit, you know? So.
Oh, is it?
He's had a look around, Jeff, and he thinks competition's not that fair.
Well, Lineker's finished now in terms of mainstream TV, so there are vacancies out there.
Oh, I'm not coming for your job, Jeff. Don't worry about it. To be fair, I do a bit of the pungy stuff, but it's mainly presenting what I'm trying to get into. I want to kind of be free and happy and just want to get my personality out there. That's what I'm looking to do when I retire because obviously in football, I always had a smile on my face, but still had to be quite serious. Yeah. In my retirement, I want to be just having fun.
Well, you've enjoyed the stuff you've been doing with TNT, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. I have the travel, the games and stuff like that. And I have enjoyed it more than I thought. Because you know me, didn't really want to watch football. Yeah. So, but obviously going to those games and actually speaking about them, I've really enjoyed the time. And obviously being around, you, Andy, and stuff like that, it's been nice.
So let's get it straight. You're not retired. So what does the future in a footballing sense hold for you?
Future, so speaking to clubs, giving a few clubs in England a call. Still having a chat in Qatar, but I'm still not too sure which way I'm going.
How fit do you feel at the moment?
Well, I'm fit. Obviously, finished the season. I went to one of the lower teams in Qatar at the time, but I went there for just a nice new experience and lifestyle and stuff. So I'm definitely fit and ready to go. Like I said, every club I've been to have offered me a contract. So it's not my physicality why I've not didn't play out much last year. Like obviously Brentford did so well last year, they offered me a contract. Leicester, obviously, completely opposite, but hey, they offered me one, and Charlton offered me a contract. So it's not my physique or my physical movement was stopping me. It was just incidents that were happening at the time.
Yeah. Now, I was going to finish off with some more of the text because there are so many of them. Sue says, please tell Mike I used to listen to his pod with Tom Cairn. He really loved it. Was sorry when it ended. Nathan said, get this bloke a job on talkSPORT. He's absolutely brilliant. And John says, one of the special months after Forest's promotion was the chance for the City Ground to show Michail in person the love that we had for him. And I've got a Sheffield Wednesday fan as well who says best loan signing that they have ever had. So much love out there for you, mate. A lot of people would love to see you back in the...
Must have been all right footballer, eh?
Hey. Thanks for coming in, mate. Great to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Brilliant, mate. And Michail's book, Humans, Not Robots. It's published by HarperCollins. And honestly, I can recommend it to you. It's not your bog standard footballing book, that is for sure. Thanks, Michail.